We are getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Search for Nancy Guthrie. She's now been missing well over a...
One word. That is all it took. Not a threat. Not a confrontation. Not a signed document or a legal filing. One ordinary word spoken between a mother and her daughter somewhere in the weeks before January 31, 2026. Nancy Guthrie said no. And 2 weeks later, she was gone. I am Brian Records. This channel exists for one reason. To follow the evidence in this case exactly the way it deserves to be followed. Carefully. Completely. Without looking away from the parts that make you uncomfortable. Today we are not covering pacemaker data. We are not going through doorbell footage frame by frame. Today we are following the money. Because buried inside 3 months of this investigation is a financial picture that nobody has assembled from beginning to end in a single place. A picture that requires no speculation. Only documents, dates, and the question that keeps presenting itself no matter how many times you try to walk away from it. Before anything else, remember who Nancy Guthrie actually is. She is 84 years old. She attended church every Sunday without fail. She raised her children largely alone. She worked. She sacrificed. She built a life inside a beautiful home in the Catalina foothills neighborhood of Tucson, Arizona. A home she had lived in for decades. She tended her garden. She kept to herself. She was not famous and never wanted to be. She had a pacemaker. She took medication every night at 10. She wore hearing aids that came out before sleep. When those hearing aids came out, she could not hear a door open. She could not hear footsteps. She could not hear anything at all. She was 84 years old, completely alone, and completely unprotected. That is the woman at the center of this story. And the story of what may have led to her disappearance does not begin on January 31st. It begins 8 months earlier. In May of 2025, a durable power of attorney was signed. Tommaso Cayan signed it. The document named Annie Guthrie as his agent over financial and property matters. When this surfaced, people with legal backgrounds called it routine. Standard paperwork. A normal transaction. And maybe that is exactly what it was. But here's what nobody said out loud. That document sits inside a sequence. May 2025, power of attorney signed. Sometime before January 31st, 2026, Annie reportedly asks Nancy for a loan. Nancy says no. January 31st, Nancy has dinner at Annie and Tommaso's home. February 1st, Nancy is gone. You can dismiss any single item in that list as coincidence. But the sequence has a direction. And the direction is financial. A publication called High End Times reported the loan request. It has not been confirmed by law enforcement. It has not been denied by the family. The amount is unknown. The exact date is unknown. What is known is that the claim arrived inside a case where financial questions had already been piling up for months. It did not create a new story. It gave an existing story the starting point it was missing. Now the properties. Nancy's Catalina Foothills home is valued at roughly $1 million. Public record. Annie and Tommaso's home sits approximately 4 miles away, valued around $650,000. A $350,000 gap. On its own, that means nothing. Parents often have more than their children. But when you are asking why this woman, why this house, why this level of apparent planning, what Nancy owned becomes directly relevant. Because the most common motive in cases where an elderly person is harmed by someone inside their own circle is not rage. It is not revenge. It is access to assets that become available when the owner is no longer present to say no. And Nancy had zero protection. The family dog had died. No replacement. The camera system was not subscribed. Not recording. Her hearing aids came out every night at 10. Her medication sat on the counter. No overnight caregiver. No medical alert pendant. No alarm system. $1 million home. An 84-year-old woman. Nothing standing between her and whoever decided to come. Here's what should stop you. None of those protections are expensive. A camera subscription runs $15 a month. A medical alert pendant costs less than $1 a day. An overnight caregiver through a Tucson home health agency runs a few $100s a week. Savannah Guthrie is one of the highest-paid broadcast journalists in America. The combined family income across 3 children was more than enough to cover every single one of those safeguards with one phone call. None of it was arranged. If Annie was in a financial position where she needed to ask her 84-year-old mother for a loan and was refused, then the absence of those protections stops looking like an oversight. It starts looking like a decision. A decision that left Nancy Guthrie fully reachable to whoever came for her. Now the evening of January 31st through this financial lens. At 5:32, Nancy took a documented Uber to Annie and Tomaso's home for dinner. Fully timestamped. On record. Somewhere in the weeks before that dinner, her daughter had asked her for money. She had said no. We do not know if the subject came up again at that table. What we know is that after dinner, Tomaso drove Nancy home. 4 miles. Approximately 10 minutes. Completely undocumented. No third-party camera recorded the departure. No rideshare app created a timestamp. No neighbor confirmed the arrival. Tomaso says he walked her inside. He says he watched the garage close. He says he left. That account stands entirely alone. The husband of the daughter who had been refused a loan was the last person to see Nancy Guthrie. Annie's Honda CR-V was seized by the FBI and held for over 40 days. Routine forensic processing of a cleared witness vehicle takes hours, maybe 2 days. 40 days means either something required extended analysis or the vehicle's telemetric data did not immediately match the account investigators were given. Modern vehicles record everything. GPS routes, door events, speed, every function timestamped. If the story checks out, 40 days is not needed. The FBI has not told the public what those 40 days produced. That silence is its own answer. 14 hours and 13 minutes passed between the garage closing behind Nancy and Annie calling 911 the following afternoon. Not one call. Not one text. No visit from the people 4 miles away who knew she was alone, deaf after 10, and dependent on medication the sheriff said could be fatal to skip. That silence created the exact window that whoever took Nancy required. The 911 call from February 1st has never been released. Not the audio. Not a transcript. Nothing. Arizona classifies these recordings as public records. In most high-profile cases they surface within days. 3 months later, nobody has heard it. Retired Detective Bob Gilliam said publicly the recording likely contains details investigators do not want disclosed yet. He said it will probably not surface until a trial date approaches. A trial. That word implies charges. That word implies an arrest is coming and that 911 call is being held as evidence for a proceeding already being prepared. Photographs have surfaced showing boxes being removed from Nancy's home. Annie's vehicle is visible. Nancy has not been declared dead. No death certificate exists. No probate has opened. No court has authorized anyone to remove anything from the home of a woman whose case remains an active federal criminal investigation. And yet boxes were leaving. Reports now indicate someone plans to move into that residence. A hair recovered from Nancy's home was sent to the FBI lab at Quantico and to Astria Forensics in San Francisco, the same lab connected to the Long Island serial killer conviction. The initial Cody search returned negative. Whoever left that hair has no criminal record. No prior arrests. Someone living an ordinary life. Someone who attends family dinners. Someone who drives elderly women home at night and signs legal documents and asks for loans that get refused. Nancy Guthrie said no. That word may have been the one that started all of this. She is still out there. Her pacemaker is still running. She deserves to come home. And the people who know where she is are running out of time to pretend they do not. This is Brian Records. Stay with this channel.